Hey guys, this is just a reminder video on the Pythagorean Theorem. Ding. Okay, so Pythagorean Theorem you may have learned in grade 8. I don't know. But in case you haven't heard of it before, it is this formula that's used to find missing sides of triangles, but only works for right angle triangles. So this triangle right here is a right angle triangle because one of the angles inside the triangle is equal to 90 degrees. So we call it a right angle triangle. Pythagorean theorem, only good for those. So it turns out that if you know two sides of a right angle triangle, you can calculate the third side using the Pythagorean theorem. So let's just say this side is equal to 3 centimeters and this side is equal to 4 centimeters. I'm doing the classic one. Without going into all the details. Maybe I should. Should I? Let's just do it then. Okay, going into all the details. But I'm gonna do it fast, promise. Okay, so I guess Pythagoras, with probably the help of a bunch of other people, figured out that if you construct squares, I know this seems weird, on all sides of the triangle, okay, like pretend those are actual squares, they have a relationship. So it turns out that the area of the two smaller squares actually adds up to the area of the big square. So if we have a triangle that's 3 centimeters on this side, 4 centimeters on this side, if we made this look weird square on one side of it and found the area, so we've got a 3 by 3 square, the area of the square would be 3 times 3, so 9 centimeters squared. If we did the same to this side, it would be 4 centimeters by 4 centimeters. So the area of that square would be 16 centimeters squared. So I guess they found out that if you add these two squares together, 9 plus 16, it will equal the area of this third side of the triangle square. So 9 plus 16 is 25 centimeters squared. And then to figure out the length of each side of the square, we need to take the square root of 25. And that will tell us that each side of the square is 5 centimeters. Because 5 times 5 is 25, right? So that's why we had to square root it. We had to figure out what times what would equal 25. So that's basically how Pythagorean theorem works. But nobody draws squares on the triangles like I just did, really, ever. Most people just use the formula that you square the two smaller sides and add them together to equal the square of the longest side. Most people write it in an equation that looks like this: c squared equals a squared plus b squared, where c squared is actually the longest side of the triangle. We also call this side the hypotenuse. So when you're looking at a right angle triangle, it's always the side that's across from the 90 degrees. So this is the hypotenuse, or the longest side in your triangle. No matter how you draw your 90-degree triangle, the hypotenuse is always across from the 90. I'm trying to draw it funny and I can't. So you can always tell where the hypotenuse will be. Now sides A and B, doesn't matter which one's which. These two are just the two shorter sides. Shortest? I was trying to write shorter. They're the shorter sides. I could say that's A, that's B. That's B, that's A. That's B, that's A. It doesn't matter. Guess what? I could change my mind and say, nah, that's B and that's A. It doesn't actually matter. So we can use this formula to find any missing side of a right angle triangle if we already know two of the sides. So I'll show you with the triangle I already did. but I won't draw squares. So this side is 3 centimeters, and this side is 4 centimeters. So here's how that formula works. C squared, C is this side, is equal to A squared plus B squared. So C squared is equal to 3 squared plus 4 squared. C squared is equal to 9 plus 16. C squared is equal to 25. Square root that so I know what C equals. Whoops, square root 25. So C equals 5. So now we know that C is equal to 5 centimeters. So that's how that formula works. And you can also, let's say, I'm drawing the world's biggest triangles. Let's say you actually knew the hypotenuse. Let's say the hypotenuse is, I don't know. Okay, I'm using the same triangle kind of. 15 centimeters. And let's say we know one side. We know this side's 9 centimeters. And we want to know how long this side is. We can use the same formula. C squared equals A squared plus B squared. Sub in what you know. This has to be side C because it's across from the 90. So 15 squared. I'm just going to call that A and that B. Doesn't matter. 9 squared plus, I don't know B. So 15 squared is 225. 9 squared is 81 plus B squared. Sorry. Okay, so we want to get the B squared by itself. So we actually have to subtract 81 from both sides. It's just like when you are solving equations. So you want to get the variable by itself. So B squared equals 225 minus 81, which would be 144. See, so now we have B alone because those went away. So then we take the square root of 144 and we get 12 for B. So now we know B is 12 centimeters. So really what we did was we just rearranged the Pythagorean theorem to be C squared minus A squared equals B squared. You can totally do that. Cool. And just always keep in mind, like it's a double check, this side should be your longest side. So the fact that we got 12 is a good sign because it's less than 15. So that's always good. All right, so that was a super fast video on how to do Pythagorean theorem.